A very good morning to all of you. All of you doing great? Okay. So, I think we have finished with TCL command completely. Okay. So, you've understood about the languages, sub-languages that comes here, the commands that are categorized. We have finished with DDL language. It is data definition language. So that defines the structure of the tables that you will be storing the data in which. And then after that, we have discussed on DML, and you understood that DML actions, nothing but the commands in that, are not permanent actions, and they are made permanent by the help of TCL commands. That's what we have discussed, right? So TCL stands for transaction control language. So it is going to control the DML transactions, and you understood all of those things, correct? And DDL, the commands of DDL, whatever they perform, they are permanent, right? They are permanent. You cannot perform rollback on that, but you can perform rollback operation with the DML actions. So this is what you have understood. Now we will take up the command. The next command that we are going to take up will be DCL. So even before I tell what really the DCL command is all about, just understand here. Let's say I'll consider the database here. Okay, so this is the database of the code nest. Assume that this is the database of the code nest. Now, when I say this is the database of the code nest, in this, definitely it will be having the details of the students, right? And also it will be having the details of the employees in it, right? And it will be also having the details of the drives that happen, and so many other things with respect to whatever the company is required to maintain the data. Everything they will be maintaining here. Let's say this is another particular table, some other details it is maintaining. So like this, maybe department table we have. So like this, the code nest database has the details maintained in this way. Now, dear students, some random person will not get any access of the data that is present in this database. You all agree on that, right? Yes or no? Now, the employees, only if they are employees of code nest, maybe they will be getting access to the drives that is happening in the company. And not every time I would be given access to your batch. Only after I am assigned as a trainer who has to take up SQL to your batch, then particular access to all the student details will be given to me. Are you all understanding? Which means access to the data, the controlled access to the data is what we are going to talk about now. Again, just not everybody are going to get access to the complete details that is present. Only after you take up admission and you start taking the course, then your record will be present in the student table, and only access to the student table you will be having. After you are just continuing with your course, maybe after some days, you will be getting access to the drives, attending drives. So now, after some time, you should be getting access to the drives that is happening in the company. Yes. And then let's say you're placed after 3 or 4 months. Now, once you're placed, what is that is? We will ask you not to attend drives. Let others get that job. Once you have your offer letter, you start with your work. Let others who are not getting placed, who are not yet placed, let them attend the other drives. Which means after you are placed, whatever the access you have to attend the drives, that I have to be taking back. Are you all understanding? After some time, maybe, and again, once the trainers are assigned, that employee access should be given to you. Now, when I'm telling access, it is not complete access. You will be given controlled access, maybe just to read the data that is present in the drives. Can you alter the drive date? Can you alter the package of the drive that is happening? No. What access you are having is you are having only the read access. You can just read the data that is present in the drives. Maybe employees, again, few employees will have only read access to the drive. Somebody from the business development team, they should also be having some update access also, because they have to update the drives that is happening. The date would have changed, or maybe the package they would have changed. Those updations, those particular employees should get that controlled access. Are you understanding the scenarios, whatever I'm telling now? Which means controlling the access to the data. It can be giving access, or as I said, taking back the access. Are you all getting it? Giving the permission or taking back the permission. So all this, whatever I'm telling, the permissions are given or permissions are taken back. All these are nothing but controlling the access to the data, and that is what you're going to learn in DCL. So what DCL stands for? It stands for data control language, controlling the access to the data. It can be giving access or it can be taking back the access. So if you remember, there are two commands in this. The commands happens to be, one is grant is one command and another one is revoke command. Usually, ma'am, who does this controlled access? There will be a person whom we call as DBA. Yes, they call it as database administrator. So this database administrator will be a person who will be controlling the access. Are you getting it? So somebody who wants to just go with particularly on the database domain, the DBA position happens to be a very main position, and even the package, everything, if you want to get into that particular domain, it happens that way. So there will be a person by name DBA who will be controlling the access to the data. Not only this, even in the companies, when you start working on the project, there will be certain confidential data related to the project which you're making, right? If there are, let's say, 10 members team who are working on that project, not all the 10 members will be having access to that complete data. There will be different access to different person. Maybe the team lead will have complete update access, read access, and maybe deletion access, any of these things. And few of the team members, maybe 4 of them will be having only read access. Another person may have some updation access, which means not all the access would be given to everyone. The controlled access will be given. That is how even in the companies work. Because once you start working on the project, not every data you will have. It will be confidential. Only for you, whatever is needed in your development, that controlled access will be given to you. Are you understanding? And who does that? That is done by somebody called database administrator. Clear? Did everyone get this? So now, dear students, to whom this access would be given? Let me tell that now. The access will be given to the users. Are you understanding? If you are a user, you will be, the access should be given to you, you will be a user. If somebody else the access should be given, they will be the user. So which means access will be given in terms of some users. So now, in order to check with respect to the whatever the granting permissions and taking back the permissions, first we will create one user, and to that user we will try to give the access to the tables that we have in our particular database stored. Are you all getting it? That's what I'll be doing now. So first I'll tell you how to create a user. Okay, how do you create a user is, you will tell with the create command. Okay, you will tell create. What I want to create? I want to create a user. So I'll tell create user, some user name you have to give. And if you observe, we have the user as system user, we are logging in. When we are logging in, we should also give the password, right? Yes or no? Which means username and password. These are the things required. So how do you create a user is, you will tell create user, username identified by the password. You have to give some password. Like this, you will be able to create a user. Are you all getting it? So now let us try to create one user. Maybe I'll tell create user Since we are in September batch, I'll tell the username as September identified by password. Also, I'll tell it as September. Any value you can give, I'm just giving it like this. Is this clear to everyone? When I say this user will be created. Everything I'll show you with the working, don't worry. But as of now, understand theoretically, access will be given to whom? Access will be given to the users. So since we don't have any other users existing in our system, so what I'll do is first I'll create one user. So how to create a user? This is the syntax for it. I'll create one user by the name September, and password I'll give it as September itself. To this user, maybe we'll try to give the access of our EMP table or department table that we have. So how to give that, you will be understanding. And let us also take back that particular access. How to take back also will be same. Did everyone get this? Okay. So let me also tell you how to give the permissions. As I told, in order to give the permissions, what is the command we use? We use grant. We use grant command. Now, grant, what permission or what privilege you want to give? We use the terminology as privilege. Privilege is nothing but what permission you want to give. Is it a read permission you want to give? Update permission or deletion or insertion or creation? What is that you want to give? This privilege you have to tell. What is the privilege you want to give? And then I'm giving this permission on which table. That table name I have to tell. Getting it? I'll tell grant the privilege or the permission, whichever I want to grant, that particular privilege on which table name you want to grant, that table name. Now, to someone you are granting it, to that user name. This is how you are going to grant the permissions. Is this clear, everyone? So this is the syntax for giving the permissions, and the syntax for taking back the permission happens to be revoke. And what access you want to take back? That privilege here again. Which particular permission you want to take back from them? That permission on, as usual, table name. Now, when you're taking it back, you will tell from username. You will tell from username. Did you all get this? So if you want to give the permission, the DBA wants to give the permission to the particular tables, the data in the table, you will tell grant what privilege you want to give. That privilege you tell here. On which table you want to give the permission, that table name. To whom you want to grant, that user name. This is how you will grant the access. And in order to take back the permissions, we use revoke command. So you will tell revoke, and whatever is the privilege you want to take back, the permission you want to take back, that you specify here. On which table you are taking it back, that table name. From which user you are taking it back, that user name. This is how you give the permissions and take back the permissions. This is what it is about the DCL command. So as the word itself says, DCL stands for data control language, which means you are controlling the access to the data that is present in the database. Is this clear to everyone? And while executing, before we give the table name, first we will tell the user name from which user's database you are giving the access. Dot table name we will tell. How is that? I'll be showing you. But this is the general syntax of it. Is this clear to everyone? Yes? So take down the heading as DCL. And if in case you want to delete the user, okay, you understood how to create the users. If you want to delete the users, you can also delete the users. Okay, how do you delete is? You delete the users with the drop command. So you will tell drop user name. This is how you can delete the user. So example, drop user September. take down DCL, data control language, data control language, DCL commands are used. DCL commands are used. DCL commands are used to control. DCL commands are used to control the access to the data. DCL commands are used to control the access to the data in the tables of the database. In the tables of the database. Control the access to the data in the tables of the database. The commands are grant, revoke. Grant, revoke. In a very recent interview in the drive that happened, the question was asked, differentiate DCL and DML, I think. DCL and DML. So that is how the questions will be asked. They'll ask you to compare, not difference, compare DCL with DML. This was the question which was asked, I think. So they can ask with anyone. They will ask you to compare DDL with DML, sometimes DML with PCL, like DML with DCL. So they'll ask you for any of the comparisons. So you should be aware on each of the sub languages what they are doing. Grant. Grant command is used. Grant command is used to give, is used to give or grant the permissions. Is used to give or grant the permissions. In the parenthesis, tell it as privilege. Permissions are nothing but they call it as privilege. Okay, write that word in the parenthesis. Grant the permissions to the users. Is used to give or grant the permissions to the users. Syntax. Just write the syntax. And remember why I have written it with the privilege like this is because the privilege you have to decide which privilege you want to give, that you will be giving here. So privilege is not the keyword which we are using. What privilege we want to give, that we will be entering here. Okay. Example, don't leave a place for example. Together we will copy it once I'm executing. You just write the syntax. Completed. Revoke. 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 Revoke command is used revoke command is used to take back or revoke the permissions is used to take back or revoke the permissions again in the parenthesis tell privilege revoke the permissions or nothing but the privilege from the users. Revoke command is used to take back or revoke the permissions from the users. Completed? Syntax. And dear students, say suppose all the privilege you want to give. Okay, every privilege, whatever the administrator is having, every privilege you want to give. Then what you can do is, you can just tell star here. Are you getting it? You're not like you want to give particular privilege. Say suppose you want to give all the privilege. Then what you can tell is you can use star. Because star indicates all, right? That is what it indicates here in SQL. Star indicates. So star indicates all. Whenever you want to give all the privileges, you can just tell star. Or sometimes for few of the versions, star will not be supported. That time you can use the word all. Are you all getting it? If in case star is not supporting for you in different DBMS softwares, you can use the word all, keyword all, ALL. If you tell that, it will work for few softwares. Any of this you can try. Is this clear? Okay. What is that I told? Revoke I told, right? Syntax you have completed. Is it completed, everyone? So next, one more point you write there. Is it completed, everyone? Syntax. A user should be created right there. A user should be created in order to give and take back the permissions. A user should be created in order to give and take back the permissions. A user should be created in order to give and take back the permissions. So tell creating a user, side heading as creating a user. Copy the syntax. Create user, username identified by password. That is how you create a user. Create user, username identified by password. That is the syntax. After that, deleting deleting a user, side heading, and copy the syntax. Drop username, because if you know some creation, you should also be knowing that deletion also. You should be knowing both the operations. Are you all getting it? So that is why. Why, ma'am? Why is it? It is because if you have the necessity, there is a requirement, that is when you create certain things. Maybe moving forward, when I take up database objects, for your requirement, you might create some views, you might create some index, you might create some procedures, you might create some triggers. So when your work is completed, when your requirement is completed, don't you think you should also be deleting it? Because even they also will occupy certain memories. Yes or no? Are you all getting it? So you should be knowing both the part of it. That is why you should be knowing the creation and the deletion of it. Take down the syntax. Now we will see the example. So you can tell example. Write this example first, because later for this user September, we will give the privilege. That is why if you have already written it, it is fine. If in case you have not written it, write this. Because I told examples, we'll write it together, right? That is why. You all have taken already drop user example also? No, right? If you have not written, write it at last. After we grant, after we revoke, at last you write this example. If you have written it, no issues. If in case you have not written it, complete example there, you take it down. Once we write, complete the grant and revoke part. So now let us see the example of it. Okay, just observe here. All of you, just observe. So what really I'm going to do is, first, let me create the user. Okay. I'm going to tell, what I'll tell is, I'll tell create username. I'll tell it as September, identified by password. As I told, password also I'll give it as September. Since we are in September batch, let's just take that username in general. So I'll tell this and I will run. Identified by September. I think no need of quotes in this. Yes, it's created. Actually, in my SQL, quotes are required. In this, without quotes, it's going to work. No issues on it. Humans happens. Okay. Right. So the user is created. Is this clear, everyone? But definitely you can go and verify for MySQL. You give it in single quotes. So this is how you create the user. Now this user, does this user is having access to any of the tables that we have? Before that, if you observe, in this corner, left corner above, if you see, now we are present as which user? System. Can you see here? The system is the user now. We are in the system user. So in this particular system users database, we have the EMP table present. Correct? If I am telling select star from EMP table, definitely I'll be able to read the EMP table because it is present in this particular database of this user. See, we are able to access it. Correct? Now I'll log in as the user September and try to access this table. Okay, so in order to access, we can log out here. You can see this log out here in the right corner. See here where the cursor is present. Can you see this? Can you see now? Okay, just a minute. Wait. This is, I'll move this. Now, can you see here? Yes, log out. So I'll just log out now. So you're now logged out. We will now try to log in as September user and password also September. I'll just log in. Okay, I'm able to log in. And now, see here, I'll try to access the, select star from EMP table, right? Now, if you observe, what is the username here? September is the username. Now, if you observe, table or view does not exist because it is a table. The EMP table is a table which is present in the systems database, system user database. That is why this particular is not having the access to that EMP table. Now, to this user, we want to give the access, the EMP table access. And I want to give only the read access, not any other access. Are you all understanding? This September user should not be, if in case the September user is trying to delete some record, it should not be able to delete. If the user is trying to add, which means insert a record, they should not be able to do. So any other changes, some updation, any of the changes if they are trying to do, they should be not able to do it. Okay, so which means I should give only the read access. So read access is nothing but the select privilege is what I want to give. So now again, I'll just log out from here because from the system user is what I have to be giving the access. So I'll just log in into the system user here. And now I'm going to tell what I'm going to tell, give the access. So in order to give the access, what is that we have? We have the grant command. So I'll tell grant. What privilege I want to grant now? Yes, select privilege, read privilege, nothing but that is done by the select command. So I'll tell grant select on which table I want to grant? Only on the EMP table. And EMP table is present in which users database? System users database. So I will tell system.emp. Did everyone get this? I'm going to tell system.emp. To whom I want to grant? I want to grant to the user September, that user name. Did everyone get this? I'll repeat again. I'm trying to give access to the EMP table of the September users database, whatever the EMP table is present in this, that access I want to give to the another user who happens to be the username happens to be the September. That is what I am doing here. So I'll tell grant select privilege. You can observe what privilege we want to give. We are going to tell here select on which table? EMP table. But EMP table is present in the system users database. So I am telling system dot EMP. To whom I want to grant? To the username I am giving it. Is this clear? So now I will just run this. Okay. I think now I have to be giving quotes. September, have I given it in capital letter? What did I give? Do you anybody remember? Yes? Username September. The spelling is correct, right? Give me a minute. September. You can observe statement processed. Can you see that? The statement is processed, which means now the permission is given. Is this clear to everyone? So sometimes with respect to server, some issues you get, retype the statement again, you will get it because it is about giving the access, taking back, that control should happen there. So sometimes you find this error like this, you can just repeat the statement again, retype it and you execute. You will be getting it. Is this clear to everyone? So now you can see the statement is processed. Is this permission is really given to them? Let us see that now. So yeah, it is given, right? Let me log out and let's check it with the September user. Previously, when I told select star from EMP, were we able to access it? No, right? So now you can be observing September. I'll log in. So now please observe here, if in case I'm telling select star from EMP, if you remember previously also we executed this query, we were not able to access it. But now if I just tell run, I think the server is giving me a big hit today. Processed. Yes. If I'm trying to access, you can now see the same employee table I'm able to access. And if you observe, the user is September user. Are you all getting it? September user. And we are trying to access the EMP table of system user. System.emp. Yes, you are able to see that we are able to read. Same way, maybe I'll try to delete some rows from this table. Okay, do we have the delete access here? We are not having. So if in case I try to delete from, I'll tell it as system.emp table. Are you all getting it? I'm trying to delete some records, which means I have told delete from the table name. All the records will be deleted because we are not giving any condition here. Correct? So all the records I'm trying to delete from this EMP table of the system users database. Will I be able to delete because I don't have the delete access? If in case I try to delete insufficient privileges. If you observe what I'm getting, insufficient privileges, which means that this particular the user is not having the privilege, not having the permission to delete any of the records in this. Maybe you try to insert some record. Definitely, again, it says insufficient privileges. So only whatever the privilege they have in order to access that table, only that way they can access. Since we have given only select privilege, it is having. Try to update. You do any of the changes, it's not going to work. Is this clear to everyone? Is it yes? Yeah. So this is the one. Now you can take down, and before that, maybe I'll also show you with respect to taking back the permission also. So if I want to take back the permission, what is that I tell? We will tell revoke. So now, so this is for granting, and in order to revoke, you will tell revoke. I want to take back the select privilege. So I'll tell revoke select on system.emp table from the September user. September user. So I'll just execute this. The statement is processed. I'll now log out and log in as September user. And here I'll try to access September. So here, if I'm saying select start from system.emp, you can now observe table or view does not exist. Previously, we were able to read the table data, but now are we able to read? No, because that permission is taken back. Did everyone get this? Yes. So this is how you can give permissions and take back permissions. So you can copy this example. And at last, if I want to drop this user, I'll tell drop user September. You can see user dropped. Now, if I'm trying to log in as September user, it says user does not exist there. Is this clear to everyone? So you can just copy these examples. Yes, when it comes to Oracle, it is sensitive. So try to give everything in the lower case. Is it completed? Completed? All of you, is it completed? I'm asking all of you, is it completed? Okay. What do we have next? Yes, it is DQL. Can you all tell what is this DQL? Yes, it stands for Data Query Language. So what is DQL? Sorry, DQL. It stands for Data Query Language. So what really it is going to do? It is going to query for the data from the table, nothing but read. If whenever you want to read the data from the table, you are querying with it, you are requesting for it. As I told you in the initial classes, querying is nothing but you're requesting for something. Here we are requesting for the data with the database. That is why we call it as data query language. You are requesting for the data in order to fetch the data, retrieve the data. That is what is the data query language. And data query language is having one command in it. And which is the command? It is select command. So you already know that select is the one which is used to query the data from the table. And how do you tell it is? You will tell select star or particular attributes whichever you want to retrieve from the table name. This is how you tell it. Correct? And if you want to give condition, you will use where clause and all the other things. Group by, having, ordered by, all of these things you will be using. Is this clear to everyone? So DQL is nothing but data query language. The command of this is used to query or request for the data that is present in the table. And the command happens to be select is the command. So you know select clause is used to, or select command is used to retrieve the data or read the data from the table. And the syntax is like this. You can just tell DQL, data query language, data query language. The command of DQL, the command of DQL is used to query for the data is used to query for the data from the table. Query for the data from the table. The command is select. And mainly the four sub languages, whatever we have discussed, that is the DDL, DML, TCL, and DCL. These happens to be the main four categories. DQL usually they consider it, and sometimes in few of the things they won't consider, because what you're doing there is you're just retrieving, right? Select, it is considered as command also, as clause also, as I have told. That is why in few of the cases they consider DQL as one sub language, and sometimes they don't. So the first four, whatever we have discussed, they happens to be the main categorization. This is another added categorization, because select is one which is very much needed for reading the data, right? So it is also considered as clause and command. That is why they categorize sometime and they don't categorize sometime. Keep this in mind. So when they ask you to explain the different types of commands, explain with this also, no problem. So select and just copy this as syntax. And one example you give. So the next part, what do we have there as the next part? It is something called miscellaneous queries. So apart from the most often discussed concepts, there are sometimes we also have questions, or we also have to query for the data in some other scenarios. Are you all getting it? So till now we saw different way of fetching the data under functions by adding some functionality. Then by performing some operation, we were fetching the data. And leaving that, there will be some cases, there will be some scenarios where you will be asking for the data in a different manner. That is what we will be discussing under the miscellaneous queries. Okay, actually the very first question has to be coming under functions. It is related to character function question, but it has just come here. That's fine, we will discuss it here, but it is a function question, character function question, the very first question there. I know it's not categorized there. They have given it under actually miscellaneous queries, but it comes under functions itself. Clear? Let us discuss with the first question there in the miscellaneous queries. What is that they've asked you to do there? It is used to get the first name of the employees, and if in case you have character P, that you replace with what? Replace with some ampersand symbol, some ampersand character you have to replace with. So which means, how can we do that is, we can do it with one function. And what is the function is, the function name happens to be, you will tell select, and the function name happens to be replace function. What is the function? Replace function. And in this replace function, this is going to accept 3 parameters. Replace function is going to accept 3 parameters. Very first parameter will be the input string. Okay. Now for us, we want to replace in which input? In the first names. Yes, in the first names we want to replace. So that will be your first parameter. Now in this first name, what I want to replace? The character which you want to replace, that will be the second parameter. Are you all understanding? The first parameter will be your input string. Then second parameter is going to be what is the character, or which is the character you want to replace. That character you will give. Then The third parameter is going to be the new parameter which you want to replace with. That will be the third parameter. I want to replace P with ampersand in the first name. That is what I have told. And this is from which table? EMP table. This is how you are going to tell that. Is this clear to everyone? So just take down this. Maybe I'll also explain you the next one and together I'll execute first one and second one. Okay, how many of you understood the second question here? Just understood. I'm not asking you to tell the query. Because very first thing, if you're understanding the question, as I told, you will be done with half of the problem. Another half of the problem is just writing the query for it. So only if you have analyzed it correctly, then you can write the correct query. If you're not analyzing it correctly, then how will you write the correct query? What is the question here? Select 35% of the salary from Pandey, then 10% of the salary from Ganeshan, and for others, 15% of the salary from EMP table. This is the question. So just analyze the question. Okay, so let's assume the employee table is present here. And in this, I will just consider the last name and salary as of now. Okay, let's say last name happens to be Pandey. And let me say Pandey's salary is 200. Let me say next we have Ganeshan. And Ganeshan's salary happens to be 100. Let us assume. And next, maybe there is some other employee whose name happens to be King. Last name happens to be King. Let me say King's salary happens to be 100. And maybe another employee is there, Singh, whose last name happens to be Singh. And let me say this employee's salary happens to be 50. Like this, I have few set of records. Or let me consider it as, maybe I'll tell this as 100. 50 and 50. Okay, all of you, if in case they've asked you to display the salary of the employees, what you will tell? You will tell select salary from EMP table. This is what you will tell. Then what will happen? Only the salary column will be displayed. In that 200, 100, 50, 50, like this it will display. Correct? This is what it is going to display. Now, dear students, what really I want is, whatever they're asking me to display is, if in case last name is Pandey, display 35% of his salary. Right? That is what they've asked. And if in case last name is Ganeshan, then display how many, what is the percentage? 10% of his salary. And for all others, you display the 15% of their salary. Which means, now when you are fetching the data, now also you want to retrieve the salaries itself, but there is something you need to also perform some modification or some cases you want to check here. Are you all getting it? Yes. So this is what we want to do. If in case it was just the salary, we would have told select salary from EMP table, we would have got the solution. But now what they are asking is in a different way. If you remember, in the functions, after general function, you had one question. And I told that question solution you will understand in the miscellaneous queries. I told this, right? It is a similar question, the same type of question, whatever you're seeing now. So first we will solve for this, then we'll check for that. Is this clear? Now, dear students, whatever we have to be now solving here, this is the question which is not just with SQL. It is a question related to PLSQL. It is a question related to the PLSQL. In SQL happens to be purely SQL. Purely it is of queries. But there is also something called PLSQL, wherein you will have some scripting programming involved into the queries. So this is a question related to that. Are you understanding why it is included here? Is because sometimes in the SQL you will also use certain PLSQL things. That is why this is there for you. You should have that idea on this. Ma'am, now how do we how do we provide solution for this? How do you provide solution for this is, see, in your Java, when you're writing some code, when you have so many conditions, so many cases to check, you use something like if, else if, then you will tell else condition. When you want to go for multiple conditions, yes or no, you have written that, right? Similar way, here we will be making use of one concept. And what is that is, we will make use of the concept of case function, which is a function of PLSQL. Okay, how do you tell it? All of you concentrate here. You can talk later with your friends. Okay. Done? So case, how do we tell that is? Don't think that I'm not watching you. You were talking in the phone. I still ignored it because I don't want to distract the class. I think respect the person who is standing here. Come and teach for 1.5 hours here. Come, I'll give you some concept which is already taught in the class. Come and teach. It can be anybody standing here. Respect them. It's not just me I'm telling, even if it's your friends. And if you want to talk, go out, walk out of the class and talk. I don't mind. If somebody is walking out in front of me, I'm least bothered. I'm concentrated. I'm bothered about who are completely listening to me. And I'm telling you, why is that I don't stop is I don't lose that focus. Grabbing all 100, 200 students' attention is not easy. Do that job. And I'm telling you, if you're not interested, please walk out. Walk out from here. Please. You comment, you laugh, you just make so many things. Everything is observed. Stand here. Somebody come. One of you can come and stand here. All of your faces are visible from here. Don't think that you're not visible if you just bend or something. Just because of 1 or 2 or 3, 4, I don't want the complete class to be disturbed. Understand that. So how really you are going to tell this particular part is, you're going to tell with a function that is case function. This is a function which is with respect to PLSQL. How do you tell that is? Now, dear students, if you observe, we have to see for multiple cases. We have multiple case. One case, if the last name is Pandey, we want 35% of his salary. Another case, if last name is Ganeshan, we want to check for 10% of salary we want. And for all others, we want to get 15% of the salary, which means we have so many cases to check. We have multiple conditions to check. And how this case function works is, you will tell case, and in this you are going to tell when. When, what is that one case? Maybe I tell case 1. When it is case 1, then what output I want, that output I will tell here. Are you all getting it? How to write for it, I'll tell. But generally, how you are going to tell? You will tell case, when case 1, then what output I want, that output 1. Next, no comma, nothing. You will just tell when the next case, it is case 2. Then what should be the output? That output 2. Similarly, how many ever cases you want to give, you can give like this. And at last, if you remember, in the if-else statements or if-else loop, when you're using that if-else ladder, what do you tell? You will tell if, else if, else if, else if, else if. At last, you will tell else. If it is none of these cases, else, that should be the output or the condition it should be giving. Right? Same way here, after everything, when whatever is that, if none of these cases, it is else, what should be the output? That output you will tell. And after this, you have to give the end keyword, because the case we should end it here, or else it gives you error. Is this clear? This is how you are going to tell. When case 1, then what should be the output? When case 2, what should be the output? If it is case 3, what should be the output? How many ever cases you want to write? You write it here. Else, if it is none of these cases, something else you want, just give it with the else and end of the case. This is how you're going to write the cases. Now, coming back to this particular requirement, what we want to fetch? We want to fetch salary, not any other attributes they've asked. So I want to fetch 35% of Pandey's salary, 10% of Ganeshan's salary, and for all others, I want the 15% and here 10%. The same thing how I'm going to tell is, I'm going to tell in the select clause. Now, if it was just normal salary, I would have told select salary from EMP table. But since I want to check for multiple cases, I will tell case, select case. I'll tell when last name is equal to Pandey. When last name is equal to Pandey, then what output I want? 35% of the salary, not just the salary, normal salary, 35% of the salary. Now you know how to get the 35% of the salary. How do you get? Salary into 0.35, or you can tell salary into 35 by 100. Any of that calculation you give, you are going to get the 35% of the salary. So then I want salary into 0.35. This is what I want. Then I also have another condition. What is the condition? When last name is equal to Ganeshan. When last name is equal to Ganeshan, then what I want? Salary, 10% of the salary. So I'll tell salary into 0.10. Are you all getting it? This is what. And another condition is, for rest all of others, we want one normal part of the salary to be retrieved, that is 15% of their salary. So tell me, should I use one more when, or should I just tell else and give that? How many of you guess I should be using else here? Any of you guess that I should use one more when keyword? Okay. See, if in case I'm using one more when, I should also tell the else part. Finally, else part you have to tell here. Are you all getting it? So now I'm left with only one part of the condition, that is, for all others, it should be 15% of the salary. That is why, since I don't have any other condition rather than this last condition, that I will be giving it in the else. Else, what I want? Salary into 0.15. Did everyone get this? And end of this case, and this I want to fetch it from EMP table. I'll repeat again. Somebody did not get. I'll tell you. The question happens to be, we want to fetch 35% of Pandey's salary, 10% of Ganeshan's salary, and for all others, we want to fetch 15% of their salaries. And how you are going to tell that is, you are going to tell it with the case function, which is a PL/SQL function. Why is it? Because we want to check for multiple cases here. And how you will tell? The case function you will tell. When first case, then what should be the output? When second case, what should be the output? That is how you are going to tell. And else, finally, one last condition, what it has to check. If it is not of the other cases, that part you will tell. And end of it. So how you are going to tell is, you are going to tell select case. When last name is Pandey, then we want 35% of his salary. When last name is Ganeshan, what we want in the output? 10% of the salary. And for all others, we want 15% of the salary. So I have told when last name, then the case. When last name, then the case. Else for all others, 15% I want. End of it. That's it. And from EMP table. When I tell this, I'll be able to get whatever is the requirement. Is this clear? Copy this. Once you finish this, turn the pages and try for the question that is present in the functions. After general functions, you have one question. Finish this first. I'll tell you the page number. 59. Page number 59. That question you try. Online students, did everyone get this? Okay, copy this and try for that question as well. I'll erase this general syntax. This is completed. Okay, write it. Anybody tried? Have written? What is the question? Let me read. Write a query to display the first name, last name, length of first name, length of last name for all employees. If length of first name is equal to length of last name, display null. If length of first name is not equal to length of last name, display length of first name. Anybody got answer for this? Is it this particular query is completed? Whatever I've written on the board, is it completed? Shall I write? Anybody wants time to try for it? Okay, try then. Done. You tell length dot first name. You will tell length dot. Huh? I have thought like that. Have you attended functions classes? No. Don't mix Java with SQL. No. Think. And have they asked only that much? They've asked you to display first name, last name, length of first name, length of last name. Then another thing. Anybody have tried? Anybody have tried? Okay. Online students, try for it. Okay, see here. Few of you have understood the question in a different way. Display first name, last name, length of first name, length of last name. These things you will display generally. How do you display? You will tell. Select. If you want to display first name, you will tell first name column, the column name, attribute name. Then we want to display last name. You will tell that if you want to display length of first name, you know that we have the length function which will give you the length of the first names. So how do you tell? Length of first name. Correct? Comma, we should also display length of last name. So we will tell length of last name, again comma. Now what should be that is, if length of first name is equal to length of last name, then it should display null. If in case they are not equal, then it should display the length of first name. This is what it is. So now these things we will consider normally. Normally how we write? We have written, here I will use case. Here I am going to use case. What I am going to tell, I'll just write it below here. Okay. Case when length of first name is equal to length of last name, then what should be displayed? Null. And null keyword, that null. If it is not equal, it should display the length of the first name. If it is not equal means definitely in one case when you have told equal, else everything will be not equal only. Yes. Again, is it required to give that condition? Also not required. Then we can just tell else display the length of first name. That is what they have told. And end of this case from EMP table. Got it, everyone? If you have not got it, I will repeat again. Somebody who have understood can write it down. We want to display first name, last name, length of first name, length of last name. That we have told it in the select clause. But there is also one more thing they have told. What is that is, if in case length of first name is equal to length of last name, for them you display null. And if in case the length of first name is not equal to length of last name, then display the length of first name itself. That is what it is told. So in order to check that particular conditions, I have made use of the case function. So here, after telling first name, last name, length of first name, length of last name, I have told case when length of first name is equal to length of last name, then what should be displayed for me? Null should be displayed, the null keyword I have used. Else, for all others where it is not equal, it should display the length of first name itself. So that I have given with the else and the end of the case from EMP table. Understood, everyone? Just write it. Online students, did you all get this? Good. Few of you have tried it. Good. I think you can now get to know what are the changes you have to make in your queries. Okay, first name, last name, case. Good. Just write this. Half of the query, I just observed half part of this you have written correct. And if you have gone wrong or you have not considered length of first name, length of last name as attributes. You have just taken only for the case that you should also consider as attributes. You have not done that. That is what few of you have missed. So that is why, according to the question, whatever is the requirement, you have to write it accordingly. Because in that they have asked, you should display length of first name also, display length of last name also. Then the other case you have to check. Yes. Huh? First name, last name, length of first name, length of last name. NVL2, null. No, 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 no. You know what you have told here? NVL2 you have told. You have used null keyword. Then first name, last name. If in case it's null, replace with first name or else replace with last name. When you have told null as the keyword, it is going to check that the value is null itself. Because here you will consider the input string. If it is from dual, then what it will do, first name, last name, you will give it in quotes and it will give the output as what? First name it will give. Then what will happen? Only values will be replaced. NVL2 function, what it will do is, it will replace null and not null values. That's it will do. It will not check, okay, if length is that, length is this, those things it is not going to check. What NVL and NVL2 will do, it will check only for the null values, presence of null values. If it is present, alternate value, it will replace. That's it. But here we want to compare some value, check for some condition, and then we have to give the output. I hope this is completed. Yes. So this particular execution of case function, I'll show it in the next class. But the replace function execution, I'll show it. You have to mark your attendance as well. Wait. So online students, wait, don't leave the session because I'll just execute the replace function query. So how the replace works? As I told, select replace in the first names. Wherever we have character P, that should be replaced with ampersand. From EMP table. So this is what I am going to tell here. It will come, just wait. So that's what I'm going to tell here. And if I just run this, you can observe, if in case P is there, it is going to replace. But has it replaced anywhere here? All of you? Anywhere. If you observe, we have character P, but has it replaced here? No. Why? Very good. Why it is not replaced? Yes, it is because whatever I've told P, that is in the lower case, but the data that is there in the data P is present as uppercase. So when I tell it in the uppercase here, and when I just try to execute this, now you see, wherever we have P, is it replaced with ampersand? This is how replace function is going to work. Did everyone get this? Okay. So the other execution, I'll show it in the next class. Wait, you can mark your attendance. Give me a minute. Yes. I don't know how many of you created the account in HackerRank. I've told this. There's one question related on the case function. I want you to check that one question and try to do it. It's related on the triangles. Triangles. The question is there. I want you to try on it. Using case, you will be solving it. Try for it and get the solution. Okay. So thank you. Let's all meet in the next class. Online students, I hope no doubts. If you have any doubts, you can ask, or else I'll end the meeting.